Hello everyone, this is Navarsha, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, Engineering College, Bikaner. In last lecture, we have studied about transport basics of transport layer and some of the functionalities of transport layer. So one of the functionality of transport layer is connectionless and connection oriented services and reliable and unreliable services. So today we will see one of the protocols of transport layer, that is UDP. As we have seen three protocols, there are three protocols which works on transport layer, that is SCTP, UDP and TCP. So in today's lecture we will see what is UDP, what is the working of UDP. See, we have studied that the transport layer transport layer provides two types of services, connectionless and connection oriented. So basically this UDP is for connection-less service and also for unreliable services. So it is connectionless and unreliable. It does not add anything to the services of IP except to provide process to process communication. It is just used to transfer the data from one process to another process. No other service is being provided by UDP, and it also perform very limited error checking. There is no major error checking is there in UDP. So, one question may arise that if UDP is not that much of powerful, then why would a process want to use it? With these disadvantages, it also has some advantages. UDP, first of all, it's very simple protocol. So overhead is minimum, very less overhead is there because it's very simple. It does not include any other information like error checking, flow checking. Okay, so if a process wants to send a small message and does not care much about the reliability, then UDP can be used. So basically sending a small message by UDP, it takes much less interaction between sender and receiver than TCP or SCTP. So that's why if you are not concerned about the reliability of the protocol or reliability of the message, then you can use UDP. So here some well-known ports are there for UDP. So these are the ports for UDP. First one is port number 7. So port number 7 is used for echo message. Echo means it echoes a received datagram back to the sender. Okay, next is discard. So port number 9 is used for discard any datagram. Datagram is nothing but the message in transport layer is known as datagram. So message is divided into datagram in transport layer if we are using UDP, and if it is TCP then it is segment. Okay, so 11 is for users, so it is for active users. 13 is for to return the date and time. 17 returns the quote of the day. 19 is charge and it returns a string of characters. 53 is used for name server. Domain name service we will study it later in application layer protocols. 67 is used for boot ps. Boot ps is for server port to download bootstrap information, and the boot pc is client port to download bootstrap information, client information. TFTP is Trivial File Transfer Protocol. RPC, Remote Procedure Call. So we have 111 for RPC. For NTP, that is Network Time Protocol, we have 123, port number 123. 161 is SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, and 162 is also for SNTP. So there are some different functionalities are there for 161 and 162. Okay, so next we will see the protocol architecture of UDP. It has, first of all, it has 8 bytes of header. So these are the fields, header and then data. Source port number 16 bits because we have 16-bit port address, and destination port number is also 16 bits. Total length 16 bits, and checksum is also 16 bits. Source port okay, source first of all, source, what is source port number? This is a port number which is used by the process running on the source host. It is 16-bit long, which means we have already seen the range of port numbers. So it can range from 0 to 65535. So here also we have to ignore the dedicated ports are there. Some dedicated ports are there, we have already studied. So we cannot use those dedicated ports in our conversation or as a source port number. If the source host is a client, then the port number in most cases is an ephemeral port number requested by the process and chosen by the UDP software which is running on the service on the source host. If the source host is the server, then the port number in most cases is a well-known port number. We have already seen what is well-known port number and what is ephemeral port number in our previous video. So okay, just to remind you, well-known port number are the port numbers which are already reserved by some servers, and these ephemeral port numbers are the numbers which are not dedicated to any service. So any client can may request for the port number, and an ephemeral port number will be given to that client. Okay, so next we have destination port number. So again, destination port number is used by the process running on the destination host, and it is also 16-bit long. If the destination host is a server, then the port number is well-known port number, and again if the destination host is a client, then the port number is ephemeral port number which is given by the host destination host. So in this case, the server copies the ephemeral port number it has received in the received packet. Next we have length. Length is again a 16-bit field which defines the total length of the user datagram. So total datagram is header plus data. The 16 bits can define a total length of 0 to 65535 bytes. So however, the total length needs to be much less because a UDP user datagram is stored in IP datagram with a total length of 65535 bytes. So we can also calculate the length of the UDP using IP datagram. So UDP length will be IP length minus IP headers length. So the remaining will be the data length, and which is what is UDP length. So the length field is in UDP is not actually not necessary. User datagram is encapsulated in IP datagram, and there is a field known as IP datagram that defines the total length. And in IP datagram there is also one more field which is known as length of the header. So if we subtract the value of the second field, that is IP headers length, from the first, that is IP length, we can reduce the length of the UDP datagram that is encapsulated in IP datagram. However, we have taken UDP the length in UDP protocol because it was more efficient for the destination UDP to calculate the length of the data from the information provided in the UDP user datagram, rather than asking the IP software to supply this information and then again calculating the length for UDP. So that's why for the convenience of receiver we are giving UDP length in UDP header in UDP protocol architecture. So next we have checksum field. This field is basically used to detect errors over the entire user datagram. So how to calculate checksum in data link layer we have already studied, but the calculation of checksum in data link layer and transport layer are a little bit different. So we will see how to calculate checksum. Okay. So checksum basically includes three sections. Here checksum is included three sections. First one is the pseudo header. One pseudo header is there, the UDP header, and the data coming from the application layer. The pseudo header is the part of the header of IP packet in which the user datagram is to be encapsulated with some fields with zeros. Okay, we will see the what is pseudo header for checksum calculation. So this is the pseudo header for checksum calculation. If the checksum does not include the pseudo header, a user datagram may arrive safe and sound. So however, if the packet header is corrupted, it may be delivered to the wrong host. So the protocol field is added to ensure that the packet belongs to UDP and not to the other transport layer protocols. So this value is if a process can use either UDP or TCP, the destination port number can be the same. So the value of the protocol field for UDP is 17. If this value changes during transmission, the checksum calculation at the receiver will detect it and UDP will drop the packet. If it is not delivered wrong to the wrong protocol, then it will be collected. So next we will see the checksum calculation of simple UDP user datagram. Okay, see these are the fields of pseudo header. So first one is 153.18. So we will only take these first two bytes and 8.105. So we have divided this address into two parts, and then we have converted this into binary format. And what we have done is we have taken the sum of all the just like our data link layer. Okay, so we have divided the address and we have taken the sum of all these, and then we have so after taking the sum we complement the sum. So after complementing we will receive the checksum, and this checksum value will be sent to the receiver. This is the calculation. Okay, next we will see UDP operations, some of the UDP operations. So first of all, we have already discussed UDP is a connectionless service, and there is no flow and error control in UDP. Why? Because it is unreliable protocol. So a flow and error control, there is no flow control and there is no error control. So there is no window mechanism in UDP. We have already seen the window mechanisms in sliding window protocols at the data link layer. So here there is no window mechanism is supported by UDP. So the receiver may overflow with incoming messages. There is no error control in UDP except checksum. So this means that the sender does not know if a message has been lost or duplicated. Whenever the receiver detects an error through the checksum, the user datagram is silently discarded. Lack of flow control and error control means that the process which are using the UDP protocol, they has to provide their own mechanisms for error and flow control. Next we have encapsulation and decapsulation. So to send any message from one process to another, UDP protocol encapsulates and decapsulates the message in an IP datagram. This encapsulation is just to hide the information of the IP datagram. So what we do is when we receive an IP datagram message, so some header and trailers are added to the IP datagram to encapsulate the message, and that encapsulated message is forwarded further. Okay, next we have queuing. We have already talked about ports without discussing the actual implementation of them. So in UDP, queues are associated with ports. So whenever at the client side, when a process starts, it requests a port number from the operating system. So some of the implementations create both an incoming and outgoing queue associated with each process, and some implementations create only an incoming queue. So even if a process wants to communicate with multiple processes, it obtains only one port number, and one outgoing and one incoming queue is there. So the queues are opened by the client are in identified by ephemeral port numbers. We have already discussed about it. The queues functions as long as the process is running. When the process terminates, the queues are destroyed. So the port number will be given randomly, means whenever a process is running, the port number will be given, and then whenever the process is destroyed, the queue will also be destroyed. When a message arrives for a client, UDP checks to see if an incoming queue has been created for the port number specified in the destination port number field. If there is such a queue, then UDP sends the received user datagram to the end of the queue. If there is no queue, then UDP discard the user datagram and ask the ICMP protocol to send a port unreachable message. Basically, ICMP is error control protocol. So likewise, if there is an outgoing queue and there is an incoming queue, so this is how queues work in UDP protocol. Next we will see uses of UDP. See, we have seen that UDP is connectionless, it is not reliable, there is no flow control and there is no error control. But some cases are there where UDP is preferred over TCP. So basically these are the cases where we are means we are more concerned about time, means we are more concerned about real time application rather than the reliability. We are concerned about time. So UDP is, first of all, it is suitable for the process that required simple request response communication with very little concern of flow and error control. It is not usually used for a process which needs to send bulk data. We can only send small amount of data via UDP, because if we send bulk amount of data, then there may be loss of messages, means there is a very huge possibility of loss of messages. So UDP is only used for small messages. UDP is suitable for a process with internal flow and error control mechanisms. So the process which already provides error control mechanisms, only those process can use it. In those processes we can use UDP, because error and flow control are being already provided. So there is no need for error and flow control. So there we can use UDP. Okay, UDP is suitable for transport protocol for multicasting. Multicasting capability is already embedded in the UDP software. In TCP, we don't have multicasting capability. So whenever multicasting is needed, UDP is used. UDP is used for management processes such as SNMP. We will study SNMP in application layer protocols. UDP is used for some route updating protocols such as routing information protocols. RIP also uses UDP protocol. Okay, thank you so much.